Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all my blessed beloveds out there. You are watching Living and Thriving with Rustie, and I'm Rustie. Today is a beautiful day for almost everybody but me because I'm exhausted. Sleep is a thing that is very overrated, okay? Not all of us get to sleep. Um, yep. So I'm tired. I'm in zombie mode. The pups are happy. They're snoring. They're doing their little puppy dream thing that they do that's so cute. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, thanks. Rub it in. So it is really actually a very beautiful day. I'm just being a whiny butt. As I'm waiting for my guests, just so that you guys know what happens behind the scenes, I'm actually putting together my little doTERRA samples of oils. And right now I'm putting lavender together because everybody likes lavender. Getting ready to work on a party. And if you guys want to do the party, we can do it anywhere via Zoom or Google Meets or something like that. Little sticker with lavender. Smells so good. Or if you're local, I can do it at your house or at a classroom or something. But this is what I do while I'm waiting on my guests. So a couple of drops of lavender in there. It's a nice sample. And then I like to break it down a little bit because it's very pure and very strong. And I put a little bit of coconut. This is fractionated coconut oil, Cocos nucifera oil. That's why I don't speak another language because I can't. So anyway, just so that you know what I do when it's behind the scenes time. And all my information is down below. And I have a ton of classes that we can do that are fun. And I got to find my lid. But see, it's a cute little bottle. And these little samples will last a very long time. And I have some tangerine that I've already done. I don't know if you can see that. But yes. So at this point, I'm not confident my guest is actually coming on. So I'm going to be oiling it up for about 15 minutes before my next guest comes on. That's how crazy my life is. Woo woo. Exciting. So I'm super excited. Today's guest is Dr. Steele. How does it feel to be a doctor?
I think kind of surreal at times, honestly. I think it's a mixed bag depending on what day it is, right? Some days it's like, oh, wow, I can't believe I did it. Other days it's like, I can't believe I did it, right? Other days like,
and then you're paying your student loans and you're like, I can't believe I did it.
I really can't believe I did it. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely how it goes.
So I'm super excited about having you on because you and I have similar interests. We both like the holistic lifestyle, and that's really your forte, and we're just going to chat it up. I'm covered in tangerine and lavender oil because I was telling you that I know I smell delicious.
I know, it's amazing. I love it.
So tell us who you are, what you do, and what makes you you.
So my name is Dr. Erica Steele. I'm a holistic doctor in family practice. I've been in the natural healthcare field for 19, almost 20 years. I think it's 20 years now, actually. I have 6 degrees in my field, ranging from psychology to laboratory sciences, diagnostic, et cetera, to natural health and natural health remedies. And I've treated over 30,000 patients since I've been in practice. And I absolutely love a holistic lifestyle. I live it every day. I lived it before it was even called a holistic lifestyle. So again, very surreal. Again, I remember when we were still just hippies and quacks, and now, we're sought after. So I'm very grateful to see the transition.
Now, so you look like you're 10. So obviously
Hmm.
the holistic lifestyle
Yeah.
work, right? So
Exactly.
do you have a doctorates in all six, or you just you're certified in all
No,
six and
no,
doctor?
I have an associate's a degree in psychology. I have one bachelor's in natural healthcare sciences. Or no, sorry. I have a bachelor's in natural healthcare sciences. I have a bachelor's in alternative medicine. I have one doctorate in natural medicine. I have one doctorate in naturopathy. And then I have a master's in public health with a concentration in complementary alternative medicine. And I plan to complete my education next year by doing a PhD in mind body medicine with a specialization in applied psychophysiology. So,
So you never
yeah,
sleep.
no,
Yeah.
definitely do not. Mm-mm, no, when I say I live, eat, breathe this life, I mean it from the time that I wake up to the time that I go to bed. Whether it's exercising or meditating or walking my dogs or being present or even just grieving, my childhood, which was a Lifetime television movie. Um, I really allow myself that space to just be and live authentically. And I think that's really what a holistic lifestyle, at least for me, is about. And on top of it, it's eating healthy and getting enough protein and drinking enough water and all the physical things. But as the longer that I've been in practice, it's really, and also just that's how long I've been in professionally. But I'll say, I was raised a practicing Native American, so I grew up doing Native American spiritual work and dances and quests and Reiki attunements and rebirthing and acupuncture. And so I grew up, we grew up a vegetarian, like we grew up really learning about all of these practices. So it was a very easy transition for me to move over into it professionally.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's your life. It's who you are. It's in your
Yeah.
DNA. It's beautiful. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you for
Yeah.
sticking with it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Some days it's like, really, but
I
yeah.
feel you on that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um, so which way do you want to go? I mean, your mind is as big of a labyrinth as mine. So
I know. Well, right now,
we can have so
maybe.
much fun with this.
Oh, I know. Maybe right now we can talk about. So what I'm actually. It's funny you talk about the DNA because my work right now is really in the space of transgenerational traumas. So both my parents were Marines, and my mother was in healthcare. My father was in education. My parents divorced when I was really young. I'm mixed race, so my dad is Scottish, English, Irish descent. My mother is Native and African descent, right? So I grew up with a lot of just not the social norms for sure. I mean, they were very open and very free in their own right, but still in this very strict container of and structured discipline of the Marine Corps. My mother had a psychotic break when I was a young girl, which left me to help care for her other two children. And it really drove me into trying to understand, right, how a woman so talented, incredible, brilliant, one day could be totally fine, and the next day, like having to peel her off of the couch and take her in and out of hospitals. And my mother was very, very ill, has been very, very ill my entire life, right? So part of my drive in my profession has really been trying to discover and understand. And so, of course, I started with psychology, thinking, oh, it's in the mind and all the pathologies and things like that. And then my mother has a lot of food addictions and things like that. So, looking into nutrition and diet and physiology and how that impacts, et cetera. And so now it's kind of evolved into the space of understanding my grandmother had schizophrenia, and so and my great grandmother before that had mental illness. But back then, you didn't really call it that, right? But there was substance abuse and that sort of thing, right? And a little
Well,
bit of
back then they used
depression.
to just have Prince Valium and a martini and everything was good.
Exactly. Yeah. And you didn't talk about it. There wasn't a label for that. That was just what you do. And so, I'm that why girl. I always wanted to understand why things happened, right?
I like
It's
to
like,
break people apart and find the caramel center.
yes. And it's like, understanding where this comes from. And, I'm sure like you, I did every self-help, read every book, did every seminar. If there was some, guru G on the side of the road with some wisdom, I was like, please, I'll be your student kind of thing. And so it wasn't just like a professional side. There was such a personal drive to understand, because not having a mother and not having that nurturing, there's a real missing in your life. And that's why I talked about grieving. And so, where it's got me to now is the fact that, the trauma that we've experienced, a lot of it, and Carl Jung spoke about this a lot, that it's not just about the trauma that we've experienced in this life, in this plane, etc., but it's also the trauma that we carry on from, lineages upon lineages upon lineages. And, even though I'm like the United Nations, right, intersecting into my DNA, I can really look at, that gives me a unique perspective to look at and go, Scott Irish, oh, there's some trauma there. Oh, England, oh, there was some trauma there. African, hello, definitely traumatized. Native line, all trauma, right? And so it's allowed me to have a really rich perspective of seeing the vantage points of trauma as I'm working to heal myself, as I'm also working to heal others. So people come into my practice, right? And they're always looking for this linear treatment. They're looking for like a pill, but they want a natural pill. They just want a pill, right? And they don't consciously think that. It's all, unconscious
We're
program.
trained
Right?
that
So
way. We're trained
oh,
by society to think that the magic little pill is going to make everything better, or the pink stuff. You drink it,
yeah.
it's better. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The drink. Yeah. Oh gosh, don't get me started. So anyway.
We got 25 minutes. We can do this again. For days.
Yes, I know, exactly. Literally. Stop it. Testimonials are not science. Anyway, okay, that's all I'll say. So so it kind of helped me to discover, that people were really yearning for something deeper, but they didn't really know they were yearning for something deeper, right? And so, I'd start off with just basic laboratory and basic, nutrition and diet, and then understand, like, just telling patients how much protein they need to get in would elicit like pure anxiety, fear, nervousness, right? Or I would say, hey, we need to drop your fat down to 20% because you're not a long distance runner, right? So you're not burning that off. And you want to lose weight, right? And then like, oh my, you would think that I was telling them not to eat ever. These visceral reactions were happening. And so I was like, wait a second. So that's bringing me back into the nervous system and this fight or flight reaction that many of us are so addicted to. I mean, we literally from Jump Street, our cells have been bathing in epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, and we think that that's productivity. We think that that's being successful. We think that's what we're supposed to do.
Well, and we, you and I are different because this is what we study and live. But
yeah,
society has trained. I mean, one of my biggest complaints is I can't even pump gas anymore without a damn commercial. Drives me crazy. It's like, I want to finish my sentence. I don't want to listen to your burger and fry deal. We have literally developed a society that's on this fight or flight, constant switch, constant squirrel all day long. And you can't go to the grocery store. You can't get gas. I cut my cable 16, 17 years ago, and I could not be more grateful because that's less noise rattling around in my life.
Yeah.
And I really hate going to get gas.
Yeah, I'm not a gas person either.
But I think it's terrifying to look at the next generation. Like my daughter just turned 16, and because I'm her mom, she's a little different than her peers. But I'm really concerned about molecular values and the children's DNA because they're not even given a chance to heal.
No, no. And it's always looking for the dopamine fix. That's the dopamine. It's the reward system. It's like, oh, I got a Facebook notification. Oh, how many YouTube followers do I have? Or, they're always looking. And there's also that instantaneous gratification, which again creates that, it's like, you don't have to go to the library, go through the card catalog, go search for a book. There's not a long, there's not effort either,
Pavlov
that's
would be a
involved.
multi-bazillionaire if he was alive right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. It's sad, really. But I think too, for every generation, there's a purpose for why they are the way they are. And I think we are going through a higher state of consciousness because this newer generation is far more perceptive. I just don't think they have the maturity to match the creativity or the intellectual stimulation or even the conscious awareness that they have. That's where, but then they're still they're 16. I have a 17-year-old. So, they have like some of the good workings, right? But again, they're still in that phase of development where they think they know everything about everything. And so, and I'm sure you remember that time as well. It was a distant memory for me. I think I know less and less every year that goes by.
Yeah, it's called Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
I'm there, girl. I just turned 45 and I'm like, am I 45 or am I 43? That like, is it Tuesday?
Exactly. What time is it?
The only day I know is garbage day. I know what day of the week it is when the garbage trucks go by and I'm screaming, holy, I forgot to bring it to the end of the driveway. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, Tuesdays is our day too, for sure. They'll get it next week. Yeah. So I think that there's a purpose. I think we don't necessarily, believe it or not, we're in the similar generation. So I don't think you and I understand that because we're not part of that new kind of world order, if you will. But they are getting so many confusing messages from all over the place. So there's so much need for that grounding and for the family unit. Like I'm in family practice for a reason because I came from such a broken family unit. I really wanted to create an impact in families. And so I tend to work with, married people. I work with single people too, but married, and single people have their own set of things. It's like they want a relationship, but ensuring that they don't attract a relationship out of their wounds, right? They attract a healthy relationship. And so married people and working through communication and working through their unhealed wounds separately as well as together, but then also too how that impacts the family as well and the children and them being stewards. Like we talk about incongruency, right? Like you can tell your kids all day long, hey, do this, do that, but if you're not doing it yourself, because they have they're not like us. They didn't have this fear of their parents. I don't know about you, but we had like, it was more a fear, even if it wasn't fear.
My grandmother would give me a look and I knew for the next month I'd get my ass beat every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I just knew my life was over. Yeah.
Exactly. Done.
I try to give my daughter the look and she's like, yeah, okay, mom, bring it. Like,
yeah, exactly. What you got? What's next? Right. Yeah, they don't have that same. They have a bravery but I'm grateful because I don't think it's healthy. I didn't think it was really healthy for us because again, that fight or flight response, that look would trigger all those same chemicals as if you were being murdered, and so like, then you grow up and, have father issues or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's so much continuum. So I'm grateful that they don't have, those aspects. And I think too, I know I was very guilty of this. because of what I experienced, I like pendulum swing to the opposite direction.
And I think what's really interesting, and you and I could have this conversation because I know you would understand. So I look at my timeline, and I'm a curse breaker, like the curse.
Oh yeah, totally.
I broke generational rules, and and I think because my understanding is so in depth, like I think our generation has a real deep understanding that our parents did not get. They just kind of placated that, biblical verse, spoil the rod, spare the child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we did the same thing, even though we might have broken some of that repetitive cycle, we created a new cycle that kind of leaves the kids vulnerable in some ways because they're not self-sufficient and they don't have strategies. Like we had to come up with strategies. I could tell you if I did something wrong, I had to figure out 10 ways to get out of it.
Correct.
Before the neighbor went over and told my mother what I did.
Yeah, exactly. Well, apparently I pulled the short card because my daughter is very much, she is that girl. She could be an attorney if she so wanted to. And could figure out 1,000 strategies. But what I don't necessarily like is the sense of entitlement that this generation has developed because I was so, and I don't know if you were, I was so scared of them having wounds, them being wounded, my daughter being wounded,
terribly,
that I almost sacrificed myself and in a lot of ways, and had to learn a lot about healthy boundaries. And I mean, so because I wanted her to be free and independent and free thinking, and but I didn't really think all that through, that she would be free thinking and independent against me, so it did kind of develop this sense of entitlement, like the world owes me because I am, which great, good on you for having the amazing self-esteem. However, the world isn't going to cater to you because you are who you are. As much as we would love, especially the toxic positivity, it's like, oh, because we are, well, yeah, however, there is another
reality check. The world doesn't care. Pay your bills.
Exactly. And your taxes, or else, you can be this beaming of light as long as the check clears. So, there's a lot of dichotomy to that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they transition, because again, they don't have the maturity. And I had to practice a lot of like almost catch and release, but more so just like total tough love. I had to not bail her out, and allow her to fail and allow her to make 1,000 mistakes. And it's not that I wasn't there, to kind of help her to understand the cause and effect, but that I'm, I have a one attorney rule in my house. So she exhausted that, with her speeding, car, and so, we were done with that. So you had to learn about, paying tickets and going to the courthouse and talking to the judge and having to go through driving school and, and all of those things. Like I was there just because, as the adult, I have to sign the paper, but I didn't talk to them, why? It wasn't my speeding ticket. So
really hard line to draw, especially when you come from an inner child that's traumatized. It is a really hard line to draw, but I think it's so important to draw that line because they have to be self-sufficient. And I look at my daughter, she's very sassy, but in a way where I kind of go, oh, I know where you got that from. That's kind of funny. But she kicks ass and takes names 0. She kicks ass. She's going to college and high school right now, and she's working full time this summer. And she's very A personality, so I worry about her health because of that.
Yeah.
But I think our daughters are very lucky that they have the mothers that they have, you
Yeah.
know, because we're able
Oh,
to cut that
indeed.
cord and draw those boundaries in a healthy
Yeah.
way, not like our parents.
Yeah, of course, and be conscious of the choices, and also see the differences. So I definitely more like your daughter in that A type personality. My daughter, a little more B type personality. She'd like to go and work and, you know, do things. I would have loved if she would have wanted to go to college. She went to trade school. She became a mechanic. She works as a mechanic, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Totally, completely. And learned how to work on cars from YouTube, right? And then actually started going to school and all that kind of stuff, right? Totally awesome. Not my path for her. And so having that, you know, I mean, why not grad school? Because my parents indoctrinated me into, you know, that was the only way.
The
And, you
more
know, so
traditional route. Yeah.
correct, exactly. And so even though I was an entrepreneur always, which is a non-traditional route, I still went through, you know, so even if, you know, my businesses failed or whatever, I could still go get a legitimate job. So, you know, not that entrepreneurship's not a legitimate job, you know what I'm saying? But,
I know what you're
you
saying.
know, there's still that kind of, you know, brainwashing, whereas my daughter was like, no, I don't want to do any of it.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with like letting go and accepting like this is her life. And so many parents, I think, want to control their children's destiny, and they don't want to just allow their children just to be. And really getting to know, I think part of my, you know, grieving that I've been doing lately is that kind of exploitation wound in terms of, you know, my mother's hopes and dreams were really put onto me, and the responsibility put onto me at an early age. And so grieving that little girl in terms of, you know, I really wasn't honored, loved, cared for, and nurtured who I was. So I made sure that even though I didn't appreciate, you know, I mean, of course, a lot of people think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I just know, you know, my daughter is so brilliant and so talented in so many ways, you know, and maybe this is just kind of a passing through, maybe not, I don't know. But whatever it is, even if this is her final destination, I've come to peace in terms and accepted that you know, I can't force and make my daughter into someone who would make me proud, right? I have to be proud of her just because she is, right? Just because, you know, she's here and she exists, and see the beauty in her as well. So I think as parents, we really have to check our own ego and really have to check our own, you know, wounds and suffering and all that kind of stuff at the door when we're parenting and working with our children, because otherwise we'll create a mess. For
I
sure.
decided a couple of years ago that I had a really horrible childhood, and I mean, no love, no coddling, no nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Locked out, kept away from people, just very weird childhood.
Yeah.
And I looked at my daughter, and I knew I didn't want to be anything like my mother, and I knew that I didn't want to be anything like her father. My daughter's father is very controlling. You can't do anything without his permission. Just extremely covert, narcissist, controlling. And I took her bowling, and it's gonna seem silly, but it worked beautifully for me. I took her bowling, and you know how they have the gutters for the ball in case you make a mistake.
Yeah.
I kind of sat there, and I'm like, that's what I'm gonna be. You know, I'm gonna kind of protect her if she makes a mistake, but I'm gonna make her keep rolling, right?
Yeah.
And it's all good. I'm just gonna be there to protect.
Yep.
And throw a bottle of water at her and maybe a towel and you know,
yeah, exactly.
good job. But
yeah,
she has to be self-sufficient, and I have to die knowing that she's going to be fine. And it sounds morose, but truly, if I got hit by a car or a meteorite or a dinosaur comes and eats me, I mean, I am in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, possibilities are endless.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to make sure that I don't have to come back and ghost her ass and you know, haunt her to get her moving. And so
exactly.
it's really powerful to realize that that's really my job. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It's not, and I think a lot of people, they fall into that coddling, they want to control every, I know with my parents, they wanted to control every aspect, and, for whatever reason, their own reasons, etc. Um, but of course, I rebelled as a response to that, right? But I wasn't even rebelling because I wanted to rebel, but more so rebelling because I was literally being stifled and I couldn't even breathe. And so that's there's a balance that we have to keep. We want to keep our children safe, but we can't surveillance them 24/7. And
Well,
kids these days are so intelligent.
I think that I, what I've discovered, and I could be wrong, the trauma response really fluctuates its muscles. It like perks up like the Incredible Hulk with people who are in need of control.
Yeah.
And that's how they deal with those underlying pieces that they've never really come to face with. And the military traumatizes you. It strips you from everything and tries to put you back together as a version of what they want you to be, which
Correct.
is constant trauma, constant response.
Correct.
So back to the DNA, because we're running out of time, believe it or not. I do think that sticks to the DNA. And I also think that when our kids are not traumatized and you're trying to control, they have no idea why you even exist that way, because you're just weird.
Yeah. They're looking at you like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? Can't we have a conversation about this? They're, in a lot of ways, they're more balanced, than we are, sadly. And for sure, I also think the military tends to draw people that are traumatized. My parents were traumatized prior to the military, and then the military just gave them a purpose, and so through that, and to your point about control, control is just an illusion. The only way to truly have it is to let go of it. But it's really just a deep expression of fear. It's a fear response. It's a coping mechanism. It's a defense mechanism. So it's like, I feel out of control because I'm afraid and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm in Florida. I could be eaten by any number of things,
True story.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to control myself and everyone around me out of my own unhealed wound, right? And then, of course, the people around me aren't going to want to be around me because they don't want to be controlled and manipulated. And, and those that love me and are obedient, if you will, they're just pretty much running up the toll, because eventually they're going to have to pay out on the trauma that they've experienced from kind of abiding by, So it's a continuum, and I think that we're in a place of liberation consciously. I think some of us, the traumatized of us, have, if we've done the work, we've been liberated for a while. And so, the events of recent, are kind of like, oh, that's it, kind of thing. Whereas I think those people that have not been in touch with healing their traumas, it's been very startling because, lockdowns have forced them to, oh, I can't keep running. I can't keep doing, you mean I have to sit here and be with myself? And
people are terrified because they're so used to stuffing their face or stuffing their mind or stuffing their bodies with all kinds of busyness, and they got scared. And it's really uber powerful. But what's larger, at least for me personally, is doing this as many times as I possibly can to get people motivated and excited about being alive again. You know what I mean?
Oh, truly. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's no mystery. We're all going to die at some point, whether that's in an hour from now, today, tomorrow, the next day. But one thing that I can say for certain in my own life is I have lived every single day rich And that's really what a holistic lifestyle provides is, you know, up, down, all around. You know, some days I feel like Guruji, other days I feel like a mess. And other days I'm just kind of floating in between. But I really appreciate and I'm grateful for the stillness, and the calm and the peace, because I know that in this continuum that we're in, we're always growing, we're always learning, we're always evolving, and we're always healing. We never get to, there's never like, oh, okay. I mean, in all the work that I've done 30 plus years, I'm still growing, I'm still healing, I'm still evolving, I'm still looking. So there's nowhere to get to but the present, and the present is really where everything happens. And so I'm really grateful to be present with you today.
I'm grateful for you too, my friend. So where can we find more information about you if people have questions?
Holisticfamilypracticeva.com is our website. We're on Instagram, Holistic Family Practices, I think it is. And also Dr. Steele is on Instagram as well, and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all those things. All the things.
All the things that make you feels. What state are you in? Virginia?
I'm in Virginia. Yes, exactly. My practice is in Virginia.
I just drove through. I wanted to go to Shenandoah Valley.
Yes.
And as I'm cooking along, because I was coming down from Maine, terrible accident, and I got all backwards and upside down, and I ended up in DC, and I'm like, next year.
Yeah, that took some skill.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, remember when we didn't have GPS? That was amazing.
Dr. Steele, I'm so grateful for everything that you do and who you are and what you're sharing with us today. And don't be a stranger. Come back on whenever you have time for us, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. Take care. Thank you for having me.
All right. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rustie. I'm Rustie, and boy, that was a whole lot to think about. What did you get from it? Leave your comments below, because you know what? I bet you got a lot from it. It's amazing how you're not alone. I'm just leaving it right there. You're not. There's so many people out there doing the work, doing the healing, learning to eat, learning to thrive, learning to live, learning to get excited about the juiciness of life. Remember, you're just a sack of water surfing on a huge, gigantic rock that has molten lava in it that's breaking and moving and adjusting, and there's no steering wheel. So all the things that you think you're going to control, all the history behind you that you think is still affecting you now, it's not. Have a really good cup of tea, chill, maybe go for a massage, go for a walk. Self-care is something that's so underrated, and I can guarantee that if you reach out to Dr. Steele, she'll be able to help you with some tips and tricks for self-care. That's really important. Anyway, know that you're loved, know that you're beautiful, and do something kind, because kindness, it changes you. It changes you into this beautiful, amazing, shiny, sparkly person. Even if you don't see it with your eyes, the person you're being kind to does. And that is magic.